Hi everyone, it's Nick. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Okay, in this video today, we are going to be talking about themed rooms versus concept rooms. So I'm going to be highlighting some of the differences between a themed room and some of the problems or the challenges with a themed room, which I am known to make fun of a little bit on this channel, and then highlighting the difference between that and a concept room and really showing off some examples and some differences between the two. So let's get to it. And before I get to that, real quick shameless plug here. I am launching an interior design course. Many people asked me for it, and I have been working on it for about 6 months. I'm ready to launch it this spring, and I'm actually going to be pre-selling the course starting today. So if you'd like to click on the link in the description, I am doing a hefty discount there for people that are buying the course before it goes live, so I can interact with you, maybe get some feedback on some of the details of the course before it goes live, and then it will be full price when I launch this spring. So if you really like some of the educational design content that I do here on YouTube, then I think you're really gonna love this course, because that's pretty much everything that I know crammed into one self-paced video course. Don't worry, I don't make it super dry and boring. We actually have fun there, so I'm really excited to see what you guys think of it coming this spring. Anyway, let's get back to those themed rooms. Okay, so what is a themed room and what are the problems with it? So a themed room, I would say, is a literal interpretation of a specific type of design. So very common, people will take a hobby or a lifestyle or a place or a period in time or whatever, and they will sort of really heavy-handedly bring a theme around that design. So the one I'm going to be highlighting in this video is the coastal or beach theme, because I just think it's really important to show an example throughout the video, and I'll also show other examples as well, but I'm gonna really stick to that one because that is very, very common to be made into a theme. So the challenges with a theme, well, first of all, I'm gonna say, is there anything necessarily wrong with a theme? Not really. In the end, that's controversial, I know. I think that it's problematic, and I don't think it's the best design choice personally, and I'm gonna get to why. But I think that if you really love it, then you go for it. One of the best parts about design is that, you know, you get to pick something that really represents you and your family, and you get to bring people into your home and share that with them. So you know what, if at the end of this video, thank you for hearing me out, but if you still love a theme, then, you know, go for it. I don't know you, I'm never gonna go to your house. So, you know, if you love it and you wanna make a Disney themed living room, you go nuts. But I will say my own personal perspective is that themed rooms tend to be really obvious, and that's really one of the problems, is because they feel very basic and generic and ordinary, not something particularly inspired, and they don't really have a whole lot of depth. So what you see very common, and I'm gonna show a couple of visuals here. So frequently in a beach themed room, you're gonna see things like shells or an anchor or maybe like a life preserver like you see in this photo right here above the mantle. I mean, like, it's a little heavy-handed, you know what I mean? You're gonna see starfish like you see over here on these pillows, right? Kinda, sort of, maybe cute if you love it, but it's a bit obvious in terms of clinging to that beach or coastal feel, right? You see a lot of people using things like crabs or marine animals like whales or dolphins, right? You'll see sand, like those little glass bottles with sand in them, and then they got little seashells in them. You see a lot of those, especially in bathrooms, right? Boats are very common, whether you've got pictures of boats, whether you've got boats on pillows, whether you've got like boats on the walls, lots and lots of boats. And it's just a little like, we get it, you know, we get it. You're wanting to make something coastal, and so you've designed a complete theme around that subject. It lacks subtlety and it lacks sort of nuance, and there's no real depth there. It just feels a bit basic, like you basically just went to Home Goods and you just grabbed a bunch of stuff that was in the theme and then threw it on all in a room and just sort of clubbed people over the head with a mallet and said, look at this, isn't this an amazing theme? I love the beach. And it's like, we get it, you know, but maybe some subtlety is in order to create something a little bit more timeless. And you actually, to be honest with you, you can actually get more creative by working in a concept, because it is much more likely to represent who you are, because you can have a lot more fun with it. There's a lot more things you can do when you start to think about your theme in more of a conceptual way. Okay, so let's get to a concept. I'm gonna show here this example of this room to kind of show you. This is a bedroom set that I would say is something a little bit more into a coastal. Now, this is a similar color palette to some of those designs that we saw earlier with a theme, right? You're still gonna see a lot of blue and white and cream and some rattan, which are the colors that you would see on a beach. So you're using the color palette that you would see on a coastline or on a beach, which is totally fine, but you're incorporating it with other materials and other textures that are a little bit less expected. So instead of just like bringing a piece of driftwood in, you might use something like this oak that you have in the bed. So we're not just taking physical, actual pieces of beach and bringing it into the home. home. And instead we're using a lighter oak to be able to show that kind of sun-drenched, sort of bleached sort of wood that you would see at a beach. But it's a little bit more conceptual than bringing actual physical pieces of the beach into your home. So again, conceptually here, we're a little bit more abstract. We're taking things that you might see at a beach, we're sort of extrapolating on them a little bit and bringing in items that sort of reflect the concept of a beach as opposed to those physical items. Another good example here is these rattan basket pendants. So rattan is the material choice that's used, and it fits perfectly into a beach theme, if you will. I mean, rattan here is defined as the thin, pliable stems of a palm used to make furniture. I mean, it's literally coming from a palm tree. So like rattan makes a ton of sense to be brought in to a beach theme. So you're using the material from the beach, but you're bringing it in a way that is less palm tree on a pillow, if you will. So it's not a literal interpretation, but you're bringing in the material choices that are present in a beach, but in a way that is a little bit more nuanced. And from here, you can get creative. That's like I'm saying, it's an opportunity for you to be a bit more creative with how you bring in rattan. So you can do it in a basket pendant, you could do it in a floor lamp, you could do it in maybe a decor piece, you could do it in a basket. Like there's lots of different ways you can use that material, but you're being a little bit more creative in your uses because it's a little bit more conceptual. It's not just a picture of a palm tree. Another one I want to highlight in this photo here is the jute rug, because jute is a natural material. So right away, we're sort of ticking that box, same as the rattan. But I really love that in a rug in a coastal space because it is rough, it is textured, and it sort of has a little bit of the material or a little bit of the concept that you would maybe find in sand. So again, instead of taking sand and putting it in a bottle with some seashells and putting it as a decor accent, instead we're bringing it in through something like a jute rug. Again, bear with me, you're gonna have to get a little bit creative here, but that tracks that you've got, instead of a bed of sand, which you're not gonna put in your actual room, instead using something like a jute rug sort of gives that impression and it kind of speaks to that concept of a beach without necessarily going so on the nose. So when you're designing your space, I think it's really best to take visual inspiration from other places that you see, from different retailers or designers that you love or homes that you've seen on social media or whatever, and really sort of curate that into something of a concept board so you can really understand how these different things are going to play off each other. Because even extending beyond a beach or a coastal theme, you know, let's say you wanted to do something like a music room or something, right? Like instead of using treble clefs or notes or whatever in your space through the decor items, instead you could bring it in a little bit more of a conceptual way, right? So you might have a music themed room by bringing in photographs of famous musicians would be a cool way to do it. To bring in functional items that you can actually use, like instruments, like maybe you've got a piano, or maybe you've got a record player, or you've got a guitar, right? That a functional item is a little interpretation perhaps, but it's functional. You would actually physically make sense that you would use those items in that space. So that totally works. But you could also, you know, choose something like this rug in a music room would be really cool. So to me, I saw this rug and I thought, again, thinking a little bit more abstract here, this pattern almost looks a little bit like piano keys. So that is kind of an interesting way to bring a cool rug into the space, but it's not actually bringing in a rug with a physical piano on it. It's a little bit more subtle, right? So there's more depth to the design and it's a little bit more creative. And with that, I think it's a better way to sort of express that concept or that theme in a way that really personally sort of reflects who you are. Continuing on that trend of using the piano themed or the music themed, you know, you might bring in some black glossy items into your space, like in hard surfaces that you maybe are using. If you want a sideboard in there or a coffee table, right? You might use black marble, like a glossy sort of polished black marble would be really cool. Or even a black lacquer in different accent pieces or in different decor items, vases, or even picture frames, things like that, right? So by taking the concept of sort of, you know, you got a black, you know, shiny, glossy piano, you might bring that in through some of the other pieces that you select for the home, right? So we're working within that concept, but we're not necessarily so heavy-handed in our on-the-nose interpretation of a theme. So I hope that really helps you guys. I wanted to make this video because, you know, I feel bad because I sort of do go after the themes sometimes, and we all have fun and designers like to make fun of them. But truthfully, it's because I think people sometimes really struggle with the creative space to be able to find some of these conceptual items that fit a theme. So they end up just kind of going to Home Goods, panicking and buying a bunch of stuff. And I want you all to have a home that really reflects who you are And again, if you still love a theme, then you just go for it. But I just think, you know, be a little bit more creative in terms of what that means to you and how you can apply some of these principles in your selection of things for your home. Again, if you want to check out the course, it's down there in the description. Again, pre-selling for the next couple of months while I put the finishing touches on the course, and then it will go live to everybody at the regular price. And I will thank you all for clicking on this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye.